What's up, everybody, and welcome to One Man's Opinion. And today we're talking about The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, and Paul Dano. Now, there's a lot to talk about in this movie. It is a 3-hour film, and I'm going to do this review. We're going to start off with no spoilers, and that'll be the majority of the review, and we'll talk about a few spoiler things and my guesses for sequels, plus like little Easter eggs, small things that I noticed in reference to the comic books and different things like that. I'll be sure to try to delineate between one and the other so that in my spoiler-free review at the beginning, I'll talk about some Easter eggs that I saw, but small things that won't necessarily give anything away, if that makes any sense. You're just going to have to trust me on this. I'm not going to spoil anything important right here. And then when we get to the end of the review, I'll talk about spoilers. And I'll be sure to let you know where that starts. So I guess I don't know really where to start with this. There is so much to talk about. I guess I'll start with the question on everyone's mind. Robert Pattinson, is he a good Batman? And I would say yes. I think Robert Pattinson is actually an excellent Batman. I think he does a fantastic job. He really brings a silent stalker feel to the Batman. It's very horror movie-esque. I like the way that they set him up as this horrific, frightening character, especially early in the film. There are so many scenes where Batman walks out of the shadows, just slowly walking toward whoever it is, whether he's about to fight someone, interrogate someone, whether he's just coming into a crime scene, no matter what it is, he sort of stalks his way in, and he really has this presence of fear down pat. Now, I will say on the flip side of that coin, I don't care for his Bruce Wayne that much. Now, I don't think that that is any fault of his own. Where we are in Bruce Wayne's story is 2 years into his Batman journey, and he doesn't see the importance of keeping up the Bruce Wayne appearance yet. He doesn't understand how important it is for him to put on that facade, that happy-go-lucky, rich playboy philanthropist. He's very mopey. He's just very emo. Even down to like his matted hair and like the whole movie. When he's Bruce Wayne, he just seems so depressed and just like not even present. His mind is always Batman. Even when he's Bruce Wayne, he's in a Batman state of mind. I don't like it. Again, it's not his fault, and it makes sense for the character where it is. So I'm not docking like a whole lot of points there, but it's not my flavor. I like the flip side of the coin better when you have this almost goofy Bruce Wayne character who is such a counter to the Batman persona. That way, the character hides it better and that sort of thing. Sort of like what we saw with Christian Bale, the way he did it. But Christian Bale, as he went on, became more of that like goofy Bruce Wayne to kind of hide the Batman a little better. I expect we'll see that with Robert Pattinson's Batman, assuming that we're going to be given sequels. And so it's not a big strike against him. It's more of a strike against the writing. I wish that we would have just gotten a little bit more Bruce Wayne instead of just Batman and sulking, depressed Bruce Wayne. Just a personal opinion. The story takes a lot of beats from Hush, which is a comic book that I've read. I've read the Hush storyline, which is really, really good. There's a whole lot of reference to that. Even at one point, the word Hush flashes up on the screen for a little bit when Bruce is watching a video about his father at some point in the movie. And so if you're looking for your comic book references and that sort of thing, that's the main source, it appears to me, for this movie. As far as Zoe Kravitz goes, I think she's an excellent Catwoman. I think she is perfect for the role. She does a great job in the movie. I really liked her a lot. Colin Farrell is amazing. Colin Farrell is so good. And it's no secret that he's playing the Penguin. He's been shown in the commercials, so I can feel free to talk about that. The man disappears into this role. First of all, bravo to the makeup and effects team. The costume design for everyone is astounding. The only thing I didn't care for was Catwoman's head dress. It's like a old style burglar mask that has kind of been like it's got like bigger openings around the mouth and around the eyes, and it has these little bitty points, for the cat ears. And I understand this is like early, so she doesn't have like a full cat costume yet. I think I would have rather her just wear like a homemade little mask or just even a ski mask, just because it's so early. Like, if you want to go that route and not make her the full-blown Catwoman yet, then just go that route and just give her a leather outfit, and give her a ski mask or something along those lines.
That's looking good.
I don't like the middle ground where it's like she's wearing kind of a ski mask, but there are little bitty points on it. I think, like, we know who she is. Like, you don't need, like, oh, there, you see the little points. It's a cat. It's a cat lady. No, you don't have to do that. Like, we know she's Catwoman, and we know she's going to be Catwoman. And so if she doesn't have little bitty cat ears on her goofy little boggin yet, that's fine. You don't have to go that extra step. Either give her a full-blown costume or give her this homemade, obviously not Catwoman yet costume. And that would be fine. And I know I'm coming off of the Penguin, Colin Farrell, who looked amazing again. He disappears into this role. If you didn't know it was him, you wouldn't know it was him. Because I could hear people behind me in the audience as I'm watching this in the theaters be like, who's playing the Penguin? Who is that guy? I don't know him. And then, like, they're, like, Googling it. And it's like, that's Colin Farrell. What? That's crazy. Like, you really wouldn't know that it was Colin Farrell unless you watched it. Moving on to Batman's costume, it takes a lot. I feel like it takes a lot of reference from the Arkham Knights games. I've played all those games. Well, I should have just said the Arkham games. Arkham Asylum, Arkham Origins, all those Arkham games that are so good. Oh man, I loved those games. But yeah, his costume really looks like it came right out of an Arkham game. So I really like that. Even down to his Batcave. The setup of his Batcave looks so much like Arkham Origins. It's stunning. It's really, really cool to see. I feel like they pulled a lot of reference from a lot of different things. They were very, very true to the character in a lot of ways, and they paid a lot of homage. I think this one is really for Batman, like real Batman fans, because if you're not, like, a little bit steeped in the Batman lore, I don't know that this would really be for you. I could see how a lot of people would complain that the movie is a little slow at times. It is a 3-hour runtime, and it feels that way. And even I would say that the pacing is a little off at times. Sometimes the movie does drag a little bit. But it's going an extra mile to try to make a very comic book, even the Arkham style video games, just a very faithful adaptation of Batman. It does go the extra mile. And so even though I do have some issues with the pacing here and there, I think that they do an excellent job really trying to pay homage to those former things. And I applaud them for it. Jim Gordon is really good in the movie. I thought that Batman and Jim, they have this buddy cop relationship a little bit in this film. It's overall a detective film. Batman's solving mysteries. He's trying to solve murder cases. There are, I'll call them hints and clues at each murder scene for the Batman. I know you've seen that in the trailer. I assume you probably know who the main villain is, but I guess for the sake of spoilers, I won't mention who that is. But if you know much about Batman, you could probably guess who the main villain is. But it is very much a detective movie, so Batman and Jim Gordon work in tandem a lot in this film. I almost thought that there was a little bit too much of that. Batman almost always has someone with him in this movie, whether it's Jim Gordon or Catwoman. I wanted more Batman alone time. Aside from Robin in the comics, Batman doesn't team up a lot. Now, he meets with Gordon a lot to discuss information, but he doesn't go busting up into a villain's hideout with Gordon side by side all the time. It does happen. It happens plenty, but I thought it was just a little too much of Batman always having someone at his side. He's such a solo character, aside from when he has a Robin, and even then, he leaves Robin at the Batcave a lot of the times because he feels like it's too dangerous. And that's, again, that's later Batman when he's matured a little bit, and I understand that. And so, maybe, 2 years in here, him and Gordon have a relationship. And so I understand all that. I just wish we had a little bit more solo Batman time. That feels more like a Batman story to me when he spends more time alone. Because that's kind of like the overarching theme to any Batman is his loneliness. and the fact that, you know, he's lost his family. He's got Alfred, but he even always has a barrier up between him and Alfred. He's so afraid of that loss and the pain that he felt as a child. And so seeing him with someone all the time in this movie, I thought it was just a hair too much. And these are nitpicky gripes, you understand? There was so much good to this film that the complaints I have are pretty small, few and far between. Ultimately, Robert Pattinson brings a physicality to the Batman role. He really is a presence in that suit. The costume looks astounding. I love it. Top to bottom, it's a really, really good film. Even though I do find that there are pacing issues and there are moments that drag a little bit, there are a few moments that are a little slow. This movie probably could have been 2 hours and 45 minutes and could have been okay. There are some really long shots. Aside from that, when the action does pick up, the action is very, very good in a lot of places. There were only a few instances when you get that background character, kind of like back in the old Dark Knight movies, like especially in Dark Knight Rises. You remember when Batman and Catwoman are fighting like a large group of guys, and if you pay attention to the background guys and not the people in the foreground actually doing the fighting, they're always like slowly picking up their gun like they're about to shoot, you know, but they never really do because their moment to get hit by Batman hadn't come. You know, those background actors sometimes aren't selling their parts the best. There was one or two moments like that, but for the most part, it was pretty good. It was pretty well choreographed. The punches land hard. The chase scene between Batman and Penguin is really, really good. There are a handful of moments in this movie that really just made me out loud go, wow. That looked amazing. And there's parts of that car chase that do that. There's some stunts that Batman does with his grappling hook, or, you know, there's one point where he hooks his grappling hook up to the top of a building and he runs down the side of it. It's a really, really cool shot. So like the camera work is really, really good in this movie. The stunts are really, really good, and the action, for me, it's an A. I wouldn't go A+, but it's really, really good action in the film when you do get it. But it is kind of a slower because it's not just about the action. It is that detective movie, and you can kind of play along with it. There were multiple times during the movie where me and my fiance, you know, a clue, we'll call it, a clue would come across, and they would read the clue, and, you know, we were trying to solve the clue as it went. And we got a few of them right, so I was pretty proud of us. We missed a few, but that's okay too. But no, it's an astounding cast. It's a passion project, it feels like. It feels like a lot of love went into this, a lot of love for the character and the source material, and they do an excellent job. I don't think the movie has much rewatch value, would be my final critique, just because there's not just a whole lot of action, and the mystery of it all is kind of the movie, and once you know the answers to all those questions, there's not much left to dig into unless you have the desire to go back and look for small Easter eggs and things like that, which I'm sure there are several hidden throughout. I saw some, but I'm going to talk about those on the spoiler side. Having talked about all of that, aside from the spoilers that I'm about to give into, I'll give you my rating, and if you don't want to talk about spoilers, you can head on out right now. The Batman was a really good movie. I don't think it's not my favorite Batman movie. I think it does have its issues. There are things here and there that, you know, I have gripes in, and to keep from this being, you know, a half hour long, I won't go into any more detail about those gripes here. It wasn't a bad movie, and I think I respected the attempt at bringing the detective side of Batman, which we hadn't seen much on the big screen. I think I respected the attempt at being faithful to comic book adaptations and pulling from the Arkham games, and you know, it seemed like there was a lot of fan service and fan thought, and people who loved the Batman property. I feel like they were at the forefront of a lot of the creation of this movie, and so my respect for that gives this movie a lot of praise, plus the costume design, and everything looked so good, and the actors did a really good job. Overall, I think it's a really, really good movie. I'm giving The Batman a 90 overall. Alright, well, that's it for my spoiler-free review. If you want to talk about a few spoilers, I actually don't have much to talk about. There's just a few things I wanted to mention and talk about. Probably just take a couple minutes, and then we'll be out of here. But if you're done and you don't want to hear any spoilers, this is a time for you to leave. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to support my channel further, I do have Patreon and Cash App down in the link, and eventually, or down in the description. And eventually, I'm going to set up more network for this channel. I'm hoping to start building like an Instagram page and a Twitter maybe for the channel, and start to expand a little bit as we go forward. My schedule is just really busy, so I don't know when that's going to happen, but be on the lookout for those things. This is your time to step away, and we're gonna talk about some spoilers. I got to assume they're gone. So the first thing I want to say is the Riddler, who I couldn't really talk about in the spoiler-free review, just in case someone didn't know. They probably should if they've paid much attention, but the Riddler was hit and miss for me. I appreciate the Hush adaptation of the Riddler. I like the Hush version of the Riddler. It's a little more grounded, a little more down to earth. Instead of having the green costume, the green hat, and the cane and the question marks everywhere, I like the Hush version. It is more grounded. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more green in his outfit, maybe just as a nod toward that original kind of Riddler. I would have liked that, and I thought the actor made interesting choices with the Riddler. I liked him in a lot of ways, and then in other ways I didn't. He was certainly leaning heavy into the insanity of the character. He definitely has moments where just complete anger and rage come out. I just thought that he was a little too over the top at times. It's a minor gripe. Again, most of my gripes for this movie are. As far as other spoilers go, got to talk about the Joker at the very end. You don't see his face. You hear his laugh. You hear him talk a little bit. I really hope and pray that he's not the next villain in the next movie. I think we're in dangerous territory of being overly saturated with the Joker right now, with Joaquin Phoenix and with Jared Leto, and it just seems like the Joker is everywhere all the time ever since Heath Ledger, and people are trying to capture that lightning in a bottle again. I think the Joker needs a break. It needs a rest for a little while. I'm not saying don't do a Robert Pattinson Joker movie eventually. I'm just saying not yet. I'm saying let part 2 be anything else. I heard Robert Pattinson talking about the Court of Owls and how he would like to do that sort of storyline. I think that would be a brilliant next step for the Gotham world that they've built. It's a very grounded in reality sort of thing. It's not very difficult to keep that realistic. But I also hope that they do step into more of the supernatural side of Batman. I don't want it to be just another Christopher Nolan redo. I hope that if Bane is introduced, that he's a hulking steroid monster while also still being completely intelligent and brilliant, I hope that if we meet Mr. Freeze, that he has a freaking freeze gun and that he ices people down. Don't make him campy. Don't make him Arnold Schwarzenegger, but, make him Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy. I want to see Clayface. We've never seen Clayface live action. I want to see Clayface really bad. But you're going to have to step into that supernatural territory to do that. And you can work your way to that. Introductions to characters like Bane and Mr. Freeze that have that sort of scientific background that borders on the supernatural, that lends itself to that supernatural, can be a good gateway into characters like Clayface or like Killer Croc or whoever else that's a little more supernatural that you might want to throw Batman's way in the future. And so I hope they don't stay too just grounded in reality. We're still very early in Batman's career. There's plenty of room for growth if Robert Pattinson will stay with the role for more than just 2 or 3 movies. Which is a lot to ask of an actor. I don't blame him if he wants to walk away from it at that point. But if they are able to build a world around him and this guy goes off and joins like a Justice League or something like that, they're going to have to get into that realm anyway. So I hope that the second movie takes further steps into building that. So give Joker a rest for a little bit. Let's head a new direction with Batman for a short time. We can always come back to the Joker later. My final thing I wanted to point out, there was an interesting scene right at the end of the movie, and this was something that caught my eye. I haven't seen anybody else talking about it. There's a time where Batman gets shot, like close range with like a 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun. It like blows him back and he can't get up. I'm assuming he broke some ribs. He can barely breathe. And Catwoman is downed and she's in a lot of trouble. She's about to die. And Batman injects a shot of something into himself that like he gets a jolt of energy and he just beats this guy and he almost loses himself a little bit. He just mercilessly beats this guy almost to death until Gordon and the others kind of pull him off. The thing that he injected himself with is assumed to be just like a shot of adrenaline. I haven't seen any other channel talking about this, but it was a green color. I'm of the opinion that might have been a watered down version of the Venom serum that Bane uses. So we might already have a nod to Bane in there already, because I've seen there have been times in the past where Batman has used the Venom serum if he's backed up against the wall in a bad enough way. And I don't think it would be above Batman to to water down the compound. If Bane's already out there in Gotham somewhere selling venom to people to get them, you know, hyped up and roided out and all that good stuff, it's not a stretch to think that Batman would have come across that on some drug deals or something like that, would have found this stuff, taken it back to the lab, analyzed it a little bit, and made himself a watered down version for moments like that when he just feels like he can't go on, he can't fight any longer, he's taken too much damage, he's too injured. You know, as a shot of adrenaline with a little extra kick to it, just to power him through for the next, 5 minutes or whatever it is, it wouldn't be surprised. And the only reason I bring that out is because I know adrenaline would just push him forward like nuts, but he almost turns on Jim when they pull him off. And that could be an effect of just adrenaline, sure, but it sure seemed to me like it was beyond adrenaline, because he beats this guy for a minute, and it seemed like there was more to it, like he was almost like pushed past a breaking point. So anyway, that was just a little Easter egg, something I saw, and I was interested to hear your guys' comments. That's about it for me. Honestly, I think it was a really, really good first attempt for a new Batman. I think there are certainly steps that they need to take in the next one. The pacing could be adjusted just a little bit, and that would go a long way to helping the film. But overall, I think it's a really, really solid attempt at something that was trying to be true to Batman, and who sort of Batman has become recently, especially in like the comics and stuff. Sort of a refreshing, newer look at Batman, and in that detective role that we hadn't really seen him, so I respect all that a whole lot. Have you seen The Batman? Let me know in the comments below what you thought about the movie. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, don't forget to like, comment, and share, and subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate it all so much. You guys know how to support the channel. Did you agree? Did you disagree with my thoughts on the movie? What did you think about the movie? I would love to hear other thoughts on the film. Let me know down in the comments below. Just don't get mad about it. Remember, this is all just one man's opinion. Thanks.